Good morning, Twin Cities. Welcome to your Sunday and welcome to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. I'm Paige Kao with the Real Estate Collaborative, and I am here again with Mark and Taylor. Hey guys.
Hello.
Good morning.
And they are also with the Real Estate Collaborative. This is the third episode we think it's going to be a 4-part series. I don't know. Sit tight. It might be 5 or 6 parts.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. But we're unpacking the realtor brand. We're talking about why REC, the Real Estate Collaborative, is doing what we're doing. We're talking about rebranding ourselves, moving away from the realtor brand and becoming REC agents, and why that's important for consumers. So we're going to start this episode talking about 2 classes that we are doing at the Real Estate Collaborative. Anybody can join. They're free. One is a downsizing and decluttering class that is the first Tuesday of every month at Movables in St. Paul. You can go to our website at therecolab.com and find all the information there. But it's the first Tuesday of every month. So the next one is going to be May 7th, Tuesday, May 7th, 3 to 4 p.m. So that's our downsizing and decluttering class. And then the other one, we haven't started yet, but we've been asked to do a first-time buyer class. Again, it will probably be about an hour, location TBD, but check back on therecolab.com for more information on that and when I'm thinking like June or July, we'll be geared up to start offering that class. Mark, you had a good point about how these classes kind of fit together on opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're related.
Yeah, totally. And I think it fits well with where we were coming out of kind of thinking through the realtor brand, because at least so far as we've already had the first one of these classes and just talking with other people in general, I wouldn't say that maybe fear is the right word of talking.
And this was the first downsizing class, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
To agents, but maybe just a general, I don't get a good vibe or a good thing when I do talk to them, because there's this consensus, at least from the first group that came and some others that we've talked to, that when you do talk to a realtor, they give you this laundry list of requirements that you're going to be required to do, from new floors, appliances, roofs, like just this whole thing. And they are
before they'll put your house on the market. They say you need to do X, Y, and Z and spend a ton of money to get your house ready to sell.
And they're kind
in a seller's market, mind you. Let's just say that.
And they're kind of sitting there in that situation anyways, where they're considering downsizing for multiple reasons. Some of it has to do with the taxes going up. Just overall cost of heating, energy prices going up. And so you get thinking through all of that at the people who are kind of at this place. And then all of a sudden a realtor comes in and says, now you have to, on top of that, spend X amount of money, which is tens of thousands of dollars, to get that to a point where you can even get out of it. And so a lot of times they're just like, I can't do it. I don't even think about it. I feel stuck.
Well, and why do you think realtors? Well, a couple things. So, probably not all realtors are going to do this. Let's make that point. But we have had multiple conversations with people in these downsizing classes who have met with realtors, and it's kind of the same thing, what you were talking about. Yeah, you have to do all of this before we can put your house on the market. But why do you think realtors would tell sellers that they had to do all this work before putting their house on the market?
That is such a good question. I haven't been able to go to one of the downsizing classes yet, so I haven't heard this feedback that we've gotten from.
I mean, I would say obviously quick sale, easy sale, easier sell, and instead of just putting it out there, the more work that they do, goes back into
The less work the realtor has to do
totally
to sell it.
right, and everything we've already been talking about.
Are the clients going to recoup that money? Is their house going to sell for more when they put?
It will probably sell for more, which means if it's a percentage base, the realtor is going to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, but to your question, one thing, we always talk to people about is often you don't want to make any big dramatic improvements right before you're selling because, to your question, you're not going to recoup it dollar for dollar.
Yeah. So that just seems like shady advice.
Yeah, it's not the best advice. And what we usually do with any seller, whether it's a seller that's downsizing or a seller that's moving up, we definitely will give recommendations of here's what we would recommend you doing before we list your house. And you get to decide what your capacity is, both in terms of time and finances. And we have those conversations up front. Is it going to increase the value of your house? Maybe not, but it might sell your house faster.
Yes.
And we would never recommend, like, I don't know, a bathroom remodel, for example. I mean, doing something like that, you for sure are not going to recoup dollar for dollar, but maybe having the hardwood floors refinished or a coat of paint is often the best way to prepare your house for sale. Most
just finishing up all the little projects that you've been meaning to do for however long you've lived in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And those are a lot of the things that we brought in or thought about in this downsizing decluttering, is because we have a number of people that are part of our partners that have been able to kind of help people just, what furniture can we pull out? We have a design staging person that can help you with that. We have people that can actually take the furniture and put it in consignment for you, the extra stuff, and just kind of think through that whole thing. There's also some person that comes that can help you with some simple landscaping, not expensive or whatever. And then multiple handyman type that can move stuff, can do painting. So it's a lot of those, just giving them access to simple and not expensive solutions to be able to list past, just instead of saying you need to do these things and go find those people and then, not have access to that. So that's kind of why part of that class would be, people would want to come to that.
Yeah, is the whole collaborative nature of what we do. And we really do try to streamline it for our sellers, and especially for our sellers who are downsizing and maybe have been in their home for 30, 40 years. I mean, it's tough kind of sorting through all your personal belongings and figuring out where things go and what you want to keep. And it can feel overwhelming. So part of our role is to help it feel less daunting and to connect you with the right folks who can help.
Yeah. And I haven't been to the class, but I know the people who've been invited there as our partners. They're the nicest people.
Yeah, we do tend to attract very nice people.
They're just so nice.
Yeah.
And they do really good work.
Yeah. And if we didn't mention, Movables is in St. Paul on Randolph at Hamlin. I bet a lot of our listeners know where the Nook is, like the best burger in town. It's right on that block on the corner. And it's a consignment store for furniture and house goods. And it's pretty great. So it's a fun place to visit. I was talking to Megan earlier. Megan is a rec agent as well. And she was saying that the owner, if you come to the downsizing class, Kate was like, just tell them everything's 20% off. Whatever they want is so you can come shop as well, which is totally like not the point because you're trying to downsize. But maybe you need a little gift for somebody or some such thing. So everything's 20% off, which is pretty great. So yeah, the first Tuesday of every month through October, it's on our website. And then the first time buyer class, which we're kind of in the process of developing. Part of what's happening, at least this is happening nationwide to a certain extent. There's a housing shortage nationwide. In our market in the Twin Cities, it's still a seller's market. It's moved a little bit towards the buyer's side over the past couple of years, but we're still seeing a lot of multiple offers. We're seeing people that are kind of stuck in their homes, that don't, like, when you talk about somebody that's been in their home for 20, 30, 40 years and they want to move, there often aren't a lot of options
Mm-hmm.
of where they can go. So that's part of the struggle. So that's part of why we need more housing options,
Mm-hmm.
is to give people more options of places to go, like larger condos maybe, or smaller single family homes that are one level living. And and this has been going on for over a decade. We've been having this conversation in the Twin Cities that, if seniors had a place to move that made
Mm-hmm.
sense for them and had options, then that house that they are selling would free up for a first-time home buyer.
Yep.
And because a lot of those homes, here's what I love about those homes, and I always have, is, sometimes the cosmetic stuff hasn't been addressed, but almost always the mechanicals
Yeah.
and the things that kind of matter, the roof and the foundation, has been impeccably taken care of.
They're well-loved homes.
Yes, it makes me think of the house that we sold last year in White Bear Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so sweet. And it got, I don't know, like 10 offers. So we had to say no to 9
Yeah.
buyers, which is always hard, which is, again, why we need more housing, and particularly starter homes. And that is going to lead us into the next segment. We're going to talk about legalizing starter homes, what that means. We're going to talk about the Starter Home Act that's currently at the Minnesota legislature being discussed. And we will be back. You are listening to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. And you can find us at therecolab.com. TheRecollab, as in boy, therecolab.com. And we will be back in a few minutes.
Passing through these walls, take my breath away. Oh, wrecking ball.
Welcome back to Reckoning with Real Estate. I'm Paige, and I'm joined by Mark and Taylor still. Hey, guys.
Hi.
We were talking about REX, the Real Estate Collaborative's 2 classes that we are offering this year, our downsizing class and our first-time homebuyer class that is coming soon. And talking about just the housing shortage in general. First-time buyers are really still struggling to find their first home, especially if they're looking at, like, I don't know, a $300,000 price point, which is a lot of money, and they're just having a hard
It's
time.
hard. I just helped some buyers and they had to put 4 offers in, and
Yeah.
they went above asking
Yeah.
on all of them,
Mm-hmm.
including the one that they eventually bought.
Yeah.
It's rough.
And they finally got a house, which
Yep.
is the good news.
Beautiful.
Closed a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And yeah.
They're happy,
Yeah, good. Yeah,
but it was rough.
it is rough. I think it's rough for us as agents when we're helping buyers, and then on, the listing side, when we're listing a first-time home buyer house, I'm going to say, what's the right word? It's like more fun. You feel like you're more in control. So as a human being, we like to be in control. So that's, for me, I'll speak for myself. But then when you get multiple offers, and we were alluding to this before the break, it just feels horrible to say
Yeah.
no to so many people who just want to own a home.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with interest rates going up, And pricing, once again, pricing a lot of first-time buyers out of the housing market. It's a problem. So
Yeah, and there's just so many different stories of different, you know, families types that are trying to buy a house for whatever reason. And I know one of the houses that we were talking about that I did the open house in, I probably met 6 or 7 of the people who put offers in on it. And I was like, I wanted all of them to get it because they all
yeah,
had a different story of either why they were wanting to be there or why they were in the first time home buyer market and why they couldn't find any houses in that area, but they needed to be in that area because of a job or a school or, you know, a parent or something like
right.
that. And so it's just really difficult when you hear those one-on-one, you know, people who are just, man, they just want something somewhere and it's just not available for them.
Yeah, yeah. And that house was in White Bear Lake, and it was built, I think it was built like in the 50s or 60s. And it was a starter home. And that family had owned it since it was built.
Yep.
They actually had the original sign that was in the yard, or a photo of the sign, maybe. Anyway, it was very cool
They had
to
the
see that.
original marketing materials.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like the plans and
It was very
And the
cool.
vintage appliances that were very
and the
cool.
vintage, yes, that's right. It had the vintage stove that was
Mhm.
so awesome. Yeah. Shout out to the Whitemans. Well done. Anyway. Yeah, and we want more of those homes to be built where they need to be built, whether
We
that's in the
do.
suburbs or in a rural area, but homes that are smaller
And why aren't these being built, Paige?
because of zoning laws, because government basically is not allowing these homes to be built because they have minimum lot sizes. Sometimes it's in some communities it's like 4 homes to an acre is the maximum number of homes that can be. And so that creates really large lot sizes, and a lot of the cost of building a home is in the land cost. Then that translates into infrastructure costs. So infrastructure like sewer and water is all priced by the foot.
Yep.
And so if you have these larger lot sizes, the infrastructure costs go up
Because
as well.
everything is farther apart.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So zoning historically in our country has been local. So municipalities get to decide what their zoning laws are and what those minimum lot sizes are. And in addition to the minimum lot sizes, you often will have minimum footprint sizes the housing can be, like not less than 1,000 square feet for the footprint size, or
Wait, what?
1,500 square feet for the foot. Yeah.
There's minimum sizes for homes
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
certain communities.
Yes. And there are also some communities that say you have to have a 2-car garage. You have to have a 3-car garage,
Yeah.
which we've talked about before
Yeah.
on the show, you and I, Taylor.
Yeah.
And
Still amazes me.
so all of these things increase the price of the home and make it virtually impossible for builders to build single family starter homes. And I think builders and developers, I'm just going to say it, get kind of a bad rap as these like profit seeking vultures. And I've met a lot of good developers and good builders. They just want to make a living.
Yeah.
You know, they are not, I mean, are they driven by profits? Yes, as much as any of us are. But really, the reason these smaller homes aren't being built isn't so much because of, well, it is because of profit margin. It just can't be done. It doesn't pencil out on a napkin. It cannot be done. And so zoning historically has been controlled at the city level. Back when suburbanization, I'm going to try not to get into the weeds here, was happening, when people were leaving the central cities, like back in the 50s and 60s, and the advent of the automobile and all of that, they could go out further. Communities started developing and designing zoning laws to restrict access to certain people.
Mhm.
In other words, if it's more expensive to live out here, we can exclude a certain type of people. It was very class-based, very race-based,
Mhm.
very race-based as well. And so now we're kind of living with the legacy of that. And it's one reason we're in the housing crisis. And just to be clear, the housing crisis began decades ago. It didn't just start when, Kamala Harris started talking about the housing crisis. It really has been in the making for decades. But the state, at least in Minnesota, it may work differently in other states, but in our state, the state grants the zoning authority to the municipalities. And so because the state grants it to them, they can also kind of take it away, which is what this legislation that's at the legislature now, this is going on year 3. It's called the Starter Homes Act. And it's meant to require municipalities basically to loosen up their zoning laws so the private market can build housing of all types where it's needed. Starter homes, duplexes, triplexes, all of that.
So the state is attempting to kind of take back some control in a way that will make it more feasible to build starter homes.
That is the way municipalities are looking at it, the first part of your sentence of it, they're taking back some control.
Yes, and they don't want that.
They don't want that for the most part. And I was at a House committee meeting a few weeks ago, and there were a number of city representatives that testified against the Starter Home Act. And their whole thing was, I wish I had a list of the cities, but I don't. Their whole thing was, well, we're already doing this, so the state just needs to stay out of the way. I think it was 4 or 5 municipalities that testified against it. And in Minnesota, I don't know how many municipalities there are, but I think there are hundreds.
Yeah.
So great job for those 4 municipalities taking the lead and kind of working towards building more housing in their own communities.
Mm-hmm.
But for every municipality that's doing it, there are probably 10 or 20 or 30 more that aren't.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there was in Blaine, right? Was that where they took away the right to build ADUs because a family wanted to build one and bring in people that are transitioning out of homelessness?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
then they took away the right to build ADUs because that wasn't the kind of people that they wanted to be living
Yep.
in the ADUs, which is absolutely ridiculous.
The neighbors threw a fit,
Yep.
and the city officials abdicated their duty to the public good and just caved to the pressure of
Yeah.
the loud, vocal neighbors.
Which I think brings us to a really good point of we can be the loud, vocal people. We can
Mhm.
be annoying.
Yes,
but
we can.
to advocate for more housing, and because it
Absolutely.
is so local, each and every one of us, including you all listening right now, also can use your voice because it's so local.
Mhm.
And I think we're all probably a bit burnt out about using our voices
Yeah.
at the moment because it's important for so many different things right now, especially, but this is another one.
Yeah, and we do have information on our website about advocating for more housing, and you can also go to twincitiesyimby.org. YIMBY is YIMBY. YIMBY is opposite of NIMBY, not in my backyard. YIMBY is yes in my backyard. So twincitiesyimby.org if you want to get involved in advocating for more housing. And I always think of housing as a front end solution in terms of it's a basic need. We all need housing. We all need shelter. And when we have our basic needs met, we can thrive in other areas of our life. So it's really a front end solution rather than a back end Band-Aid like a homeless shelter, for instance,
Yeah.
which is also very needed. But
it would be great if it wasn't because
Mhm.
people had access to housing.
And the last point I'm going to make, because we're running out of time again, it goes so fast. But this legislation, I just want to be clear, it's bipartisan. It's blue and red, which is awesome. It's not asking for any funding because it's not about creating affordable homes or affordable housing. To create affordable housing, you have to have deep, deep subsidies to get the housing affordable. So that's not what this is about. It's about creating more housing affordability. So increasing the supply of housing so that the housing prices and housing values and rent prices stabilize at least, or maybe even come down a little bit. It's basic supply,
Mm-hmm.
demand economics. And I just say that because at this same meeting, when the Minnetonka representative, who's Democrat, didn't support it because it's not creating any more affordable homes. And it's like, well, that's not, there was just a disconnect. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of information and yeah. Well, I hear the music
All right.
creeping
I
on.
guess we should go.
I think that's our cue
Yeah.
that we're going to end, and hopefully we'll see everybody next Sunday at Reckoning with Real Estate. Take care.
Wrecking ball.